Warframe is a game that just keeps on getting better. Using G2A is worse than piracy, and City of Heroes is back and thriving. My name is Force, welcome back to the Force feed. Here I am once again talking about Warframe. It is the game that I can't escape, but I still feel like I don't understand the game at all. But that does not stop me from being excited about Warframe. Looks like it's happening again. We just had TennoCon 2019 and loads of new info and footage came out of that, giving us a bunch of details about stuff coming to Warframe in the near future. I'd say the biggest thing that came out of that was probably the Empyrean gameplay demo, showcasing the Railjack, these ships crewed by a team of 4 players, allowing for deep space exploration, resource gathering, and combat. You'll encounter enemy ships, which you can either fight back or board, hijack, and take control of. You can also contact ground teams of real players asking for support, take on enemy kinpins and their capital ships. They're essentially making Star Citizen before Star Citizen finishes making Star Citizen. What? So again, the Railjack, it's a massive multi-crewed ship. It's got customization with equipment, cosmetic systems, and reinforcement slots. You'll be taking them out into space to explore, find and gather resources, take on enemy fleets, and then fly to your various missions. One of the coolest things was they showcased just flying around in the ship and then seamlessly transitioning into a normal mission area. So say some of your crew boards an enemy ship or goes onto a planet to complete a mission, while other members of your ship stay on the Railjack, providing you with support. In fact, your ship can even be boarded by enemies, and then you have to teleport back to fight off the invaders. They've got the new squad link system where you'll drop a beacon, it'll scan for other players who need help, and then you'll get these mini objectives that you can take on to support those players. Now, the example that they showed was one team on the ground taking out a shield battery while a Railjack crew was fighting a fleet in space. And then when the battery went down, the Railjack crew was able to take out the enemy ships. They also have this new Kuva Lich system, which is like a nemesis system in other games. These will be custom enemies that grow in power over time that you'll constantly be fighting with. They'll be learning the abilities that you killed them off with in the past, and eventually they can get so strong that they command their own capital ships. And in the gameplay demo, they went after one of these Kuva Liches. I think I'm saying that right. They had to take out its fleet, board the ship, find the Kuva Lich, and then engage with it, but it had like its defenses tied to the power of the ship. One of your teammates had to go off and like disable the shield battery before you could take them out. I mean, just really, really cool stuff. It's really amazing to me, the sheer volume and amount of things and systems that just keep getting layered and layered onto this game. Now, the game does get the criticism that it's convoluted and there's too much going on and you can't figure it out. I kind of feel like that's a good problem to have. I'm so terribly impressed with Warframe, really, honestly. There was also a bunch of trailers and stuff. They showed an update to the rendering engine with improved real-time shadows and reflections. There were trailers for the next open world location, the Duviri Paradox. There's going to be a new game intro cinematic, upcoming cinematic storyline quest, The New War. They showed off Wukong Prime. There's Nightwave Series 2, The Emissary, which is this free battle pass-like event. It's just kind of like the game itself. TennoCon's reveals were overwhelming. In the volume of like new stuff that there is to talk about. It's just crazy to me. I don't know what else to say other than really Warframe is one of the very few games that I continue to remain excited about, and I always want to jump back in. I know part of TennoCon is just to do stuff like what's happening right here, get people re-excited about the game, but it works. And even if it's only for 10 or 20 hours, every time that I get stoked about Warframe and revisit it, I do have a fun time with it. So I'm excited to jump back into Warframe again. I don't know. It's a never-ending cycle. It's like I'm an addict or something. I got a problem. Next in the news, I'd like to join the chorus of people telling you to avoid G2A, the third-party key reseller. If you're not familiar with this, basically it's a website that people go to resell game keys purchased from official stores like Steam, Origin, Epic Store, etc. And normally they sell those keys at a big discount. So it's kind of like a used game store, but for digital keys. What's the problem? Well, the problem is that there tends to be a lot of shady and illegal activity surrounding these things just due to its very nature. One of the biggest issues is stolen credit cards are used to purchase a ton of keys, and then they sell those keys on G2A that new people buy at a discount, and so far so good, but eventually that stolen credit card gets reported and that money has to get refunded, and it's the game company that has to pay for it. So this isn't as big of a problem if you got major companies like EA, for example. If they get some stolen credit cards used to buy buy their keys and sold on G2A, it's not a huge deal for them. They got some pretty deep pockets. But when it comes to smaller indie companies, they have a harder time paying for this stuff. So much so that a bunch of indie developers came out last week basically saying, if you're not gonna buy our keys officially from our website or from somewhere like Steam, for example, don't use G2A. They would rather you pirate the game. That's right. They would rather you pay nothing and just download the game illegally than buy from a site like G2A, because when you buy through those sites, they run the risk of having to pay for all those credit card chargebacks. So they end up losing money instead of you just downloading the game for free. So it sounds crazy, but honestly, if you're not gonna buy the game correctly through the proper channels, just download it illegally instead of using a third-party site like G2A. And then on top of that, there was some drama about G2A recently buying Google Ads to prioritize showing their site over official game web pages, making it that much more likely that the devs get no money from these sales. I mean, it's a big debacle. You know, they've also come out and said they're trying to like clear up the air, like, hey, we're not a bunch of bad guys. And you know, I suppose technically they're just like facilitating these transactions, but they know what's going on. Maybe it's a tough problem to solve. I don't have all the answers. These sites aren't great. They're not great for the developers, and even if you can save some money on these keys, there's enough sales, I feel like, that go on in the digital space that you could still get this stuff at a discount. Indie developers are telling you directly, don't buy our game from a site like this, download it illegally for free. So just do that, I guess, if you're trying to save some money. And last up in the news today, City of Heroes is back and thriving, kind of. This is a superhero MMO that was shut down back in 2012 after the developing studio got closed. Well, evidently, private servers have been running secretly for nearly 6 years until earlier this year, YouTuber Destroyer broke the silence, revealing its existence to the community. So this was a game that people loved, but they couldn't play because the company shut down and they stopped supporting it. But evidently, for about 6 years, people were playing the game, but just not sharing that info publicly, probably to avoid legal ramifications. Well, shortly after this stuff got revealed, the game code was then leaked onto a Discord, and now apparently there's as many as 9 private servers, some of them containing nearly 100,000 registered players. Now, these are private servers, and I know we just got finished talking about legality and all that stuff. It's not fully like a legal thing because they don't own the rights to this stuff, and they're using it technically without the permission of the people who own City of Heroes, and because of that, there is legal concern that at some point NCSoft will reach out with DMCAs requesting that the servers get taken down. And that's also going to be part of the reason why this story is in the back half of the video and not going to be in the title or the thumbnail, because I don't want to blow this thing out of the water by any means. But if you guys like City of Heroes, I guess it's worth noting that there are private servers up and running, so you could play the game. Just don't say I sent you. Okay? Don't tell anybody that I told you about this. And this whole thing highlights this big issue of these games as a service, MMOs, whatever you want to call them, these games that run on servers that the companies at any point could be like, hey, you know what? We're closing down, or we don't feel like supporting this stuff anymore, so you can't play these games anymore. Like, that's a tough situation. These people paid for these games, maybe they bought monthly subscriptions, or they spent a bunch of money on microtransactions, and then just poof, these games vanish forever? I mean, this isn't a new issue. I'm not shedding light on anything. This has been a problem for quite some time and a well-known issue. I guess it's just good that there are people out there that are so passionate about these games that they're willing to run their own private servers for the stuff, typically having to pay potentially lots of money and server costs depending on how popular this stuff is. We would prefer, of course, if the companies that made these games just keep supporting them, or once they decide to stop support, they just hand the code over to be like, hey, you know what? We're not gonna run these servers anymore. This game's not making us enough money, but here's all the info for the game. But obviously they can't do that because there's probably issues with like copyright, and they might have rights issues, and if they want to launch another game. A lot of this stuff is pretty out of my depth, but I guess I definitely empathize with the people who love these games. They want to keep playing them, but then the companies shut them down and they just don't have access to them anymore. I mean, I guess WoW Classic is a great example of that. WoW Classic private servers were a thing for a long time before Blizzard stepped in and decided to do it themselves, because there's an audience out there that really wanted to play it. Turns out I was among them. I never played the private WoW servers, but boy oh boy, I've really enjoyed my time with Classic. It's an ongoing issue, and I don't know that we have like an easy solution anytime soon. So I guess in the meantime, even though it's not technically legal, I can certainly appreciate that there are just people, fans of these games out there, willing to run their own private servers and put their necks on the line. Because honestly, if there are any DMCAs or like legal ramifications that come from this, it'll be towards the people who run these servers, and maybe to the people who talk about them publicly. Oh Jesus, what did I do? All right, everyone, that is gonna do it for today's episode of The Feed. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a good day. We're gonna keep those videos rolling this week, so stay tuned. One coming out tomorrow. Don't let them down, Dennis. Don't let them down. I wanted to do some more merch. I was thinking about a t-shirt with Emo Force on it. What do you guys think? I can't fucking see shit. You know, this actually isn't, I mean, I'm just doing this as a joke, but this actually isn't a terrible look. Oh no, I'm too old for this shit, aren't I? I can't do it.